All right. Welcome. Yes, Afro Beats by Ada, Cool Drive, the instrumental playing here on AIM Arts, the Anti-Racism in Medicine Action Roundtable, the soon to be rebaptized in the new year Anti-Racism in Action Roundtable. So, welcome to everyone that is round the table on today. I am your host, as always, Dr. Ijeoma Nodim Opara, live to you on Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, and both Twitter Live and Twitter Space, and I think Facebook. Who knows these days? Anyway, my pronouns are she, her, and all, and I'm calling in from the original unceded lands of the Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Odawa, Potawatomi, the Three Fires people in the territory of Awiyatanong or Detroit. And I recognize and honor my Igbo African and African diaspora ancestors, communities, and descendants in this moment. I am a physician, scholar, scientist, artist, activist, coach, consultant, speaker, mama, and wifey, and my personal, professional, and business mission in life still is to dismantle white supremacist delusion, aka white violence, white terrorism, by eliminating anti Black racism from medicine, healthcare, science, and public health, all while centering and celebrating Black brilliance, Black abundance, and joy locally and globally. So, again, thank you for being here. Welcome to the roundtable. We are AIM Art, a multi professional, transdisciplinary community of unapologetically Black and unapologetically pro Black, liberatory, Pan African, Afrocentric, Afro optimists. That means that we celebrate and center Black magic, Black brilliance, excellence, truth, joy, strengths, assets, abundance, possibilities, creativity, and future dreaming, which we're going to be doing a lot of on today. And we're committed to developing the innovative knowledge, skills, and attitudes to inform the transformative actions towards eliminating anti-Black racism in medicine, healthcare, public health, and the sciences. We are founded on the philosophy of Ubuntu, the Afro-Indigenous philosophy of Ubuntu, which means community. I am because we are. We meet every 1 to 2 weeks on Saturdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. But today is our last meeting of the year. All right, the last meeting of the year, baby, so that we can all get that restorative rest that we all need to do the work that we do in perpetuity. We are proud of our partnership, so we do want to shout out Brother Sinclair Skinner of iloveblackpeople.com and Howard University. We want to shout out Dr. Lana, soon to be Dr. Lana James of Ready for Black Lives and End Race Correction, of which I'm a co-chair along with her, my better half. Black Dog Village, National Residents Council, Black Mental Health Alliance of Nashville, Ubuntu Black Family Health Center, Hood Medicine Initiative, Health Equity and Justice in Medicine of Wayne State University School of Medicine, Detroit, and Opara Speaks, as well as the White House Health Equity Leaders Roundtable, of which I'm proud to be a member. So, a few housekeeping tips as we wait for my better halves to appear on at the round table. I see Sister Lana. I'm waiting on Sister Michelle. But as we wait for her to come in, just some housekeeping again. We are an emoji community. So you want to use your hearts, you want to use your hundreds, you want to use your Black power fists to really build community. Please don't be shy with that. We also populate and share resources, build community on the Jumbotron or dashboard or Nest, as many different folks term it. So, the top of your screen, you should see beautiful, wonderful things populating there. So, we don't like to speak out of school and we like to cite our sources and place them there. So, we'll be sharing resources there. And so, I encourage you, if you have resources, go ahead and share those. Feel free to DM me if you have any feedback, comments that you'd like to share. Go ahead and do that on the back channel. If you're on YouTube, you can use the comments, no problem. I'll certainly be reading those and posting those as we go along. And folks can see that who aren't on YouTube Twitter. You can see that on your Twitter live as well. And there's just multiple ways to just ensure that you are engaged. We like for this to be an active, interactive, engaged time of community amongst powerful, amazing, magical people. So go ahead and share if there's anything that you're doing or you're up to, any some sort of product or publication or process or project or whatever it is that you're doing. We love to celebrate our people. So go ahead and share those so that we can put that on the Jumbotron as well. And do us a favor, go ahead and tweet out the space, invite your peoples up into the space. We like to say we welcome all exes, lovers, pets, friends, in laws, players, neighbors, all your students, your kids, your parents, your cousins, and your mama and and daddy and bring them all up into the space. And don't forget to hashtag AMART to get us to trend on this platform. Um, and so, with that being said, we're going to get into it. Again, I said today is the last session episode of the year. There are a lot of amazing things that are in the works for the roundtable. But we just thought that this session could be celebratory. We're going to play a little bit more music as we go through the conversation today. And really, from right this moment, the floor is open for anyone who wants to speak and share. We want to hear from you. How has the roundtable blessed you? Many of you are in this space that are with us. You are faithful supporters of this space and members of this community. We're extremely grateful to you and thank you for everything that you've done. Dr. Guiton, Sister Helena, Sister Anne, and so many of you here. Sister Kelly, just welcome and thank you for always being supportive. So, what has been the takeaway from your experience with the roundtable? How has it affected your work? Because we want to be a community that, and like we said, equips members of our community, our family, who is doing the very difficult work of anti-racism, of Black liberation, especially in any field, especially in health and sciences and public health. And, in what ways do we need the many ways we need support, the many ways we need uplifting, celebrating, the many ways we need loving, tender care amongst each other. We hope and we want to be a source of that for each other, right? Again, Ubuntu. So have we achieved that this year for you? We want to hear from you, and what are some dreams you have for the roundtable as we start planning for 2023, for next year? What are some dreams you have for yourself, for which we can help you achieve in this new year? And what dreams do you have for your work that we can help you achieve in the new year? And what dreams do you have for us as a community, for the roundtable? We want to freedom dream. Sorry, I got a call. We want to freedom dream together today and celebrate each other. We also want to hear what achievements and accomplishments that you have reached as well. I want to celebrate you today. And so it's really open. Okay, y'all, just go ahead and request. Usually we have a conversation amongst the roundtable panelists, shall we say, and then open up. But on today, we are opening up already. So you are welcome to come on while my sister Lana and I, can start the conversation going, and you can kind of jump off. But you are welcome to request to speak at any time. And the topic we thought that we might start massaging, and I want to credit Sister Michelle with offering that topic, was this idea of comfort and safety. And she's not here yet, but we were having a conversation as we debriefed. As some of you may know, I invited Sister Michelle to speak at my institution, Wayne State, and she did an excellent job and spoke about scientific racism and really brought such an incredible lens, historical lens, sociopolitical lens to the conversation. And in that conversation, she said something incredible. Somebody asked again, how do we have these conversations with colleagues who are resistant and all this, all that there? And she talked about the nuance of comfort and safety, and when people get uncomfortable, and the value of discomfort, for growth. And she gave an example. She's like, when she works with unexperienced or inexperienced trainees to take care of birthing people, and the birthing person is groaning and moaning in labor, and sometimes some of the trainees may themselves experience discomfort. Like, can we uh, comfort her? Can we help her with her pain, or with what's going on? How do we is there some need we're not meeting with her? And she will need to assure them, okay, this person is uncomfortable, yes, and we know why they're uncomfortable. They're giving birth, right? But she's safe. They're safe. They're uncomfortable, but they're safe, right? And what does that mean as we do this work of Black liberation, as we do this work of anti-racism, of justice, of equity in the spaces that we occupy, to be comfortable and safe, to be uncomfortable but safe, to be uncomfortable and unsafe, to be uncomfortable, to be comfortable, but unsafe. And I know there's a lot in there that one can kind of tease out, and there's no right or wrong. It's just, how does that sit with you? And Dr. drew another parallel as well, where she talks about how in the work that she does, as she advocates and activates, um, that she recognizes that she can be comfortable in doing that work, because that is her calling. And I relate to that. Many of us do here. But she knows she's not safe. As a Black woman speaking truth to power, there's this awareness that, at any time, shit can hit the fan and be just, spread all over the place. So there's this thought about, well, I know I'm not always necessarily safe, but I'm comfortable because I know who I am. I know where I am, where I'm from. I know where I'm going. I know what my purpose is. I'm grounded in my higher power and in ancestry and community, etc. So I'm comfortable, but I recognize there's a risk in doing this work, and so therefore I may not necessarily be safe. So there is that parallel, and then there was that experience, and then paralleled it to white so-called co-conspirators, or white folks who try to do this work, or other folks who try to do this work, or folks that are listening to us, or receiving or consuming our work, who may be uncomfortable but are very, very safe, right? So that's the other texture to this whole idea of comfort and safety, and why. And so it was a very rich conversation. So we thought that this would be a great space to talk about that and think through that, and also sort of trouble that together as a community, as we look ahead, right? As we reflect on where we've come from this year as a roundtable community, but then as we look ahead to building in 2023 and Freedom Dream, what does it mean for us to be comfortable and safe? Is that something to aspire to? Is that something that matters? What does it mean to confront others who are battling, or struggling, or contending with the same idea themselves, with comfort and safety? And how does it impact or affect us? And so I just wanted us to sort of trouble that together and see where we end up. And so with that, I want to, as always, welcome my wonderful sister, Sister Lana, to the space and talk about your joy today. You have taken a break into the hinterlands to go into the mountaintop to receive inspiration, rest, and inspiration for your work. And so I wonder what other experiences of joy you engaged in through this exercise of yours this past week, and then just sort of what is coming up for you as you heard this contemplation around comfort and safety, and where it sits in the work that you do, and how that speaks to freedom dreaming for the new year. Lana, are you there?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I want to first of all start with my land acknowledgements, because I'm here in Toronto, Canada, also referred to as Takaranto. And that is the treaty territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation and the ancestral and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Ojibwe, Chippewa, and Huron-Wendat nations. I also want to give a real honor and appreciation for all that have struggled in these Americas who are of African and African diasporic ancestry and indigenous ancestry of the Americas. As we come to the last conversation of this year, as we get ready to go into 2023, this has been a really challenging year as we've watched the Amazon burn. We've watched the indigenous lands of the Americas from Colorado to British Columbia to Alberta to Ontario burn because of the environmental damage of white colonization that's removed important members and kin of our community, like the beaver, the humble beaver, which is actually a Canadian symbol, has done so much over the millennia to prevent forest fires. And it's only now that the white and other colonizers are beginning to understand why you can't just tear every single form of kin that is on their forelegs or their winged ones away, because it allows for harm to come in. So I want to give real acknowledgement to our kin that are both winged and crawling and on four, as well as us that are on two, because we've seen a lot of environmental disasters this year. We've seen a lot of community members struggle to keep their lives together and their families together, whether we're talking about the United States along the eastern seaboard, in Florida, Texas, Louisiana, up here in Ontario, British Columbia, Nova Scotia. And we know that those things hit our communities hardest because we're also the ones left to be supported or remembered or fundraised for. And so I don't want that to go unnoticed, as I myself have been doing a reflection on the air quality from all of the smoke, not just here up in Canada, but in the US and around the world. We've even seen Europe begin to pay for her environmental crimes against the planet with her own forest burning and their own droughts being experienced. And so I give this land acknowledgement in a real deep way, and hoping that we can each and all recognize that we have a role to play by, maybe our goals are to decrease our own garbage output from our houses by 20% each quarter until we're down to zero. And maybe it's also about us all thinking about how we might take up some off-grid processes. And I'm also encouraging people to think about, like, how do you prepare if something were to come your way? Do you have your neighborhood networks? Do you have your meeting spots? Have you thought about what happens when the air quality dives and the members of your family, both biological and otherwise, need air to breathe? We saw in the COVID pandemic so many crimes against humanities where the threats were not just threats, but were real, where members of our communities who need, respirators were threatened that they would be removed and given to the more able-bodied and healthier. These things are not lost, because these are not idle threats, because we've seen them happen. And so as we close out this year, I ask us to remember just deeply and thoughtfully what the land and the earth has brought us, what makes it possible for us to even be here today, and that our land acknowledgements are never hollow, but they are real meditations on how we're inextricably connected, despite the desire to force us into the metaverse of further white imaginaries. And so what's giving me joy today is the opportunity to reflect on a year that's been a lot. It's been a lot for me, a lot of death, but also a lot of joy, a lot of progress, but also a full view into what ongoing colonization looks like. So I'll leave it there. And if I didn't answer one of the opening questions, please do remind me.
No, you did great. I like, the question was really around this idea of comfort and safety that I was tinkering with. And as I think about your offering in terms of this lens of thinking in a comprehensive way, I love that. I love that reminder of how we freedom dream and how we ensure that our freedom dreaming doesn't ignore our environment, like the very earth that we we exist upon and we unfortunately consume, right? And the cost of that our freedom dreaming needs to consider or incorporates the earth and where our personal responsibilities lie inside of that, etc., right? Because when you talked about air quality and breathing and what we experienced in this past couple of years, you know, it definitely speaks to this idea of comfort and safety. And how comfortable am I in a world where you, we just moved to this house, and one of the first things I was looking into was the air quality of this town and township, and our neighborhood is not that far away from and what inspired me is the fact that our neighborhood is not that far away from the freeway, one of the freeways. And so we have all kinds of data that shows and associates chronic health conditions, including mental health as well, with exposures to air pollution. And we know that we are progressively, the air quality in many of our places, our residential areas, and now just the places where human and other life forms live, is being severely compromised. What's happening on the West Coast, you know, in California, etc., is 100% impacting us in the Midwest and like towards the East. It's all interconnected. And so freedom dreaming around what does it mean to be comfortable in a world where, you know, where my liberty and my liberation and my joy and my life is tied up with the quality of care for the earth, right? And the quality of the earth, and then the quality of care for the earth that impacts upon her quality, right? And that these are things that we need to think of together. And it leads me to sort of think about then what is good comfort, and then what is appropriate discomfort, right? Because the earth keeps us safe, you know, you know, which is another conversation to really like trouble. So yeah, I think that that was rich inside of itself. And I'm just wondering for you, how are you conceptualizing this idea of comfort and safety, whether within the context of, again, a planetary or global context, or outside of it, but this idea of that. And I appreciate the time, for me anyway, tying that together. But for you, how is it landing?
Do you want me to jump in here?
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's landing a lot, because I mean, I'm reflecting on a couple of things before we got on this call. First of all, for anybody that's watching FIFA World Cup, hey Morocco, you brought it home. I gotta throw that in there. Yeah. All my Moroccan friends and being like, keeping Africa in the game. So I always like to point out that, as my father always said, you know, I think it's a saying in many villages, but, you know, laugh and cry live in the same house. And so, you know, we can celebrate our Moroccan.
Let's celebrate for 1 second. Hey, go ahead.
Thank you for that. I think it's important for us to always do, and that is to remain with the spirit of joy.
Sorry, my dear, ignoring. I'm a terrible DJ, so I just I'm not good with my buttons.
Yeah, I think it's really important that we play with those buttons. I think it's important that we do that, because we are often, you know, life can be pretty serious for us, right? As Black people, as Black women in particular, that have to be the stewards of this process towards a greater freedom. It can leave you kind of heavy. So I really appreciate that. I'm so glad we're going to be mixing throughout the day. I've always said to you, Ijoma, you remind me of old school radio DJs who bring it, who intersperse, and so don't ever stop doing that. And so, I mean, there's a couple of things. The intimate relationship with the environment is like always been present for me long before. Or like it was an environmentalistic thing. I was struck by, especially in the diaspora, because so many of our ancestors were tied to the land forcibly, and forcibly tied to the land to terrorize her. Yeah, to plant crops that we knew better, to use agricultural methods that we would never, ever want to be engaged in, and to be literally the fertilizer of the earth. Many people, it's difficult to think about and frame, but many of our diasporic ancestors are literally the fertilizer of the earth, and continue to be so, all over the world, to be mixed in with the soil as leaves and compost are, because our deaths are so plentiful and treated as meaningless. And so literally we are one, whether we want to be or not. And the violent processes of colonization out of slick cities and slick lives and slick, careers, because we want to be disassociated from being bound to the land in these violent and often humiliating ways. And it's left us with a lot of pain and a gap, right? Because I remember saying to my dad, so how come no one's farming like all the land that we have and everyone's fought so hard for across the diaspora? And he said, Lana, you really can't appreciate how difficult it is to face that land, knowing how many humiliations, how many women have faced, how many humiliations in all those fields, and how many men and how many children have been left to die. It's not something that many people have joy in. And so when they do have joy, they want to do it in a very different way. And it struck me because the land practices that I witnessed from my uncle, who's now passed, may he rest in peace forever, and my other ancestors, they're like real wisdoms, right? Stuff that you can't create with chemical fertilizers and all the ways of Monsanto's and Bayer's, chemical warfare on agriculture. And there's wisdoms there that have kept us for thousands of years in these healthy bodies with healthy DNA, that's being corrupted now. Right? That's being completely corrupted and violated. And then, we're being told by the same people who create all those chemicals, oh, listen, all the damage we created in your DNA, well, we can now just CRISPR it out. Oh, we don't know what's going to happen, but hey, let's give it a shot. And so it's this very perverse relationship. And as someone who's in artificial intelligence and medicine and diagnostics, I have to look at this very closely, and it's frightening, right? To have so many lay people who are patients who are looking for solutions to real health problems, but the very people who created them in the very hospitals, from the very same mega corporations that universities are part of, that are invested in literally as shareholders, literally as investors, that these are the people who perform the violences that give them the clinical problems that they have, that turn around in their face in their white coats with these monstrous companies behind them in the shadows and say, oh, but we can offer you this. But they haven't told you that it will be the price of your firstborn for several generations. And so this relationship to the land can never be minimized, as much as they want to put it into the back rear view mirror, through this metaverse nonsense. And it also brings me to, wait for it, Shudu, SHUDU. And so that is the creation of artificial intelligence models. And I'm going to drop a link for you now, so you can put it in the nest in the Jumbotron. And it's not a coincidence that in the modeling industry that is dominated by white skin and light skin models, and deep complected melanated sisters are the exception and not the rule, that when they chose to make an artificial intelligence cadre of models, they stole the images of thousands of Black women, Indigenous and African diasporic, to produce these composite images of artificial intelligence models. And one of the most famous is one who, and I don't know how to attach a thread, Ijoma, so I'm just going to give you the link to the article. A sister on Twitter, let me see if I can find it, because for those of you, I literally, as much as I'm into tech, I don't play with certain technologies. And Twitter is one of them because of its many evils, literally. And I'm just trying to find the thread here. And it's a white man, right? So it's a white man that develops these, has developed this particular digital persona. And she's actually taking, quote, bookings. And the gentleman's name is Camerson, Camerson James Wilson. Camerson James Wilson. His first name's hyphenated. And he's created the first digital model interestingly, a sister, has broken it down for us very succinctly and pointed out that she's a South African Ndebele woman who's been given European features, right? So it's not bad enough of the sexual violation and misogynation that resulted from this. They still seek to create violent forms of misogynation, but now that they can't rape you in person, they'll just rape you digitally and force their aesthetic into your melanation. And this is dangerous. It's dangerous on so many levels, not just because it's a created three-dimensional virtual AI, but because we don't know how many of us on this very Twitter space have been used to create her. So we don't know how many of our own ancestors' DNA and struggle to maintain themselves and self-possess themselves as their own personal human being and not the property of another has been taken and used by this white man. And it's not a coincidence that this industry is spearheaded by white people and Asia because of their technological prowess, because they were able to steal our souls for so many centuries, and that they're leading the rest of us to think that this is an area to compete in. So I won't be surprised to see our own people taking up this unfortunate form of psychological and physical rape that's being justified because it's happening through AI. But these things go together because they don't want to pay for labor. White people and those who seek to be the victors of capitalism never want to pay for labor. That is how the transatlantic slave trade came to be. That is why Europeans have gone all over the world to enslave and colonize, because they don't want to pay for that which they take, including rotting the planet and causing acid to rain from the skies. So we can't forget that this all goes together, right? That they're spread like a cancer outside of Europe, not to observe the ways of to take care of land and to engage with people and to be in fair agreements and treaties and to go through commerce as has been done for millennia among humans. But they, with their dishonored ways of living, have popularized something, and they like to call it capitalism, but it's not capitalism. It's something much darker, because we've had capitalisms, which is the surplus of resources that can then be resold for millennia, but it never destroyed the planet. It never made the seas run red. It never perverted the coral reefs. It never caused extinction to massive forms of life on the scale. And so it's not a coincidence that as they cut down the environments that we come from, that our ancestors seeded our DNA from, that as they lay the earth to waste, that they want to create their new indigenous artificial intelligence beings. And it's not a coincidence that they choose to take the embodiment of indigenous African women as the source of their new form of profit. And so my comfort is in the fact that we have always, as Black women, been victorious over their violence, and that we might come together in AMART and other forums. And I will be working over the holidays with my colleague who's a lawyer to think through what kind of document we might need to submit both to the courts and the UN. And I think this man needs to be sued within the inch of his life, to understand that, your misogynation, your digital rape will never go down as okay, and that it's violent, because soon these images will replace us. And these will be the archetypes and phenotypes that will be used to decide and how you say, degrade us. And because you'll notice something about these images, I've studied them somewhat closely, that they try to bring a lot of primate features into our faces, and where they don't bring in primate features, they bring in white features and then bring in a deeper melanin. You'll notice that the deep complected models are not complexions that you'll ever have seen. Yeah, but they then will come to supplant us, because they can manufacture more AI images out of the stock of the few of us that are online, and it gives me comfort to know that we will all stand up and fight for ourselves, as we always have, and that this is not art, and this is not play, this is violence. And so we have fought with less. We have fought with stones. We have fought through our wounds. We have fought through our words. We have fought with irons around our necks and irons around our ankles. And we have fought from the bottom of the Atlantic, and we have triumphed. So I have comfort in knowing that we are durable people, and that this will not stand, and that this man will go down for the shameful thing that he is, as will all of those Black, white, Asian, or otherwise who think that they can take that which has been created by the magnificence of the universe and that they can play God with it because they have a CPU in their bloody computers, and that their mental illness will be taken as normalcy. That won't come to pass, that we won't allow that. I'm naming this day as that day because today I sat with it deeply, and I was like, no, this is where I have to pull a granny moment, and this shall not pass.
Yeah. You shall not pass.
Yes, girl.
I think that's Lord of the Rings and a couple of other movies. But no, I really feel that. And I want to shout out to folks in the audience. Again, you can request to speak. It is open forum for folks to come on and share what you're freedom dreaming around. We've proposed the theme of comfort and safety, comfort versus safety. However, you are welcome to speak whatever is on your mind, and as you freedom dream for the new year and the work that you do or otherwise. So just want to lift that up in this moment. Balana, as I was listening to you and the dots you were connecting from the connectivity to the earth, uh, and again the reminder that just like the waters and the oceans that hold ancestors, and someone might say, well, Ijoma, you're Igbo, how do you have ancestors in the waters? I'm like, again, knowing your history, especially the Igbo, the ethnic group of Igbo, but frankly many ethnicities throughout the continent drown themselves in the waters than to face enslavement in the Americas. So we all have ancestors that have constituted and the waters, the oceans, but also the soil. And so that connection that really added a different texture, additional texture to me. When I say we all, by the way, I mean diaspora people, Afro diaspora people. But that certainly added additional context, texture to the conversation of why it is incumbent on me to take responsibility for how I connect my work. And I have to admit, that is certainly an area of freedom dreaming for me, to be more intentional in the ways that I connect my work to the earth and to being a global, a planetary, steward, a better planetary steward, and ensuring that climate justice, environmental justice, earth justice is more intricately tied into my work than it is already. And so I'm grateful for that, but also the connection to technology and how these all kind of feed together. What started to come up for me is this awareness that even though Sister Michelle, she talks about being comfortable, but knowing that she's not safe. I feel that in the work that I do, that I experience many moments of discomfort, actually, but I've never really felt unsafe. That my personal lived experience actually speaks to more to the experience of having a sense of how, even in so many moments, being uncomfortable. But I don't think I've ever really felt necessarily unsafe. And I don't know if it's because I am constantly almost 100%, I would say 99% surrounded by Black folks. But that sense of being unsafe isn't something that I experience as much as I probably should, given the work I do and the extent of the work I do, living in Detroit, and again, having circles that are very, very extremely rich of people from the diaspora. So, I recognize that, and how I connect that feeling to many of the things you said, Lana, is this idea of connection and relationship. And I love what you talked about when you talked about farming, and then your conversations with family members such as your uncle, and him explaining to you these and telling these stories. And I had this sense of like that intergenerational connectivity, and how connection to earth, connection to deity, connection to ancestry, connection to each other, to family, and to members of our larger community is part of what has generated this sense of safety that I take around with me. And how that sense of safety then allows me to more confidently show up in the world to do the work that I do. And so I just wonder for you, do you relate to that, or do you see it another way?
No, I think I see it quite similarly. Like, I mean, for me, part of what causes some of these deep reflections is like, you remember these little rifts of conversation, right? With your elders, with your cousins, with your chosen family members and people who educate you along the path. And it causes you to look inside and think, and I think I can honestly say that I think it's quite similar what you're pointing out. I'm going to circle back here to AI only because it's like so present on my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And those reflections are like connected, because for me, when we look at like, how do we come to be in this place, right? How do we come to be in this place where another global pandemic was unleashed, right, out of the actions of capitalism? You have to remember that was why we had the 1918 flu, right? Because the colonial powers were warring about who would own the earth. Mm-hmm. And their soldiers of fortune brought it back across the waters and spread it. And we know that wherever we see pandemics, it's usually the result of humans who have been thoughtless in their actions. Mm-hmm. These are not just natural events that arise as much as we've been sold that bucket of nonsense. We know that if we study virology, you need a certain set of perfect storms, and the ways of colonization seem to perform those perfect storms, mm-hmm. just in a timely manner. So for me, I think about how my grandmother, who, has weathered over a century in 4 years, and who is such a clear thinker, doesn't forget a thing. I mean, now she's forgetting little things, but like nothing compared to my level of can't remember where I put my glasses. Mm-hmm. It's a shame when your grandma who's 100 and something plus can tell you, girl, they're on your head. What's wrong with you? But just her ability to keep time, right? And to witness and to observe. She's a walking almanac. And that those observations and her ability to keep time, even though she's never said it explicitly, has informed how I'm able to keep time and pay attention. And so when I see, the invention of artificial intelligence humans, and I do this in air quotes, this deep desire to replicate human life when they've never taken care of human life. Like, it's so perverse to me, right? That I should be looking at the creations of people who have never been invested in caring for human life and the ecosystem that holds us together are the same people who are trying to create an army to replace us as they kill us, as the air becomes untenable, as food becomes too expensive, as real estate becomes too expensive because of artificial capitalism's pushing up prices and creating inflation. And so we're literally witnessing in this moment the very same thing for those of us who have African ancestry and ancestry in the Americas, the global system that transformed land into property, into assets to be traded to create subprime mortgages and create market meltdowns around the world, that we're witnessing that same process, that same lack of respect for life, that same lack of respect for, an intertwined entanglement that is this planet called Earth, that we're watching it, and that we have to not be spectators. Mm-hmm. That we have to be kind of like unruly soccer fans, and we have to spill out onto the field, and we got to drag these mofos out of the game. Because my grandmother hasn't stood for a century, and so many have, to simply watch us fall back into the barbarism of European conquest. Mm-hmm. Right? These are some of the most uncivilized histories in the world that they brought. And so for me, my comfort and my safety is in knowing that Black women and Indigenous women around the world have, with little more than a stone, a knife, a fire, a prayer, a ceremony, held us safe. that my grandmother has prayed over me, that I might come to adulthood and that I might do what I have been called to do. Like, that's what makes me feel safe, is that, you know, there's an old gospel song. It's an African American gospel song, and it talks about praying grandmothers. And I remember when I heard it, I was like, yeah, boy, you know what you're talking about. Because when we're in the throes of trying to make a living, trying to find our way, sometimes we only remember to pray when we feel defeated. We forget to pray when we are at peace and we have that moment to breathe. And so I am comforted in knowing that my grandmothers, my great-grandmothers, on my African side, I am the 5th generation born from the coast of Africa, and from my Amerindian Amber side, I am only 3. And so that's a lot of praying. And it was effective. And it continues to be effective. So I take so much peace and joy in that, and comfort. And I cannot wait to sit. I will literally sit on the ground at my grandmother's feet. I cannot wait to sit by her and put my head on her knee and have her pray over me. And that is, when I tell you that is the prayer of my heart, and it brings tears to my eyes because I'm on a countdown, I can't wait. Because sure as I am here, I would not be if she did not have such a masterful vision. This woman understood the 21st century when she was born at the beginning of the 20th. And she looked out and she had a plan. And she said, I don't know which one of you, but one of you is going to come and bring me a particular piece of paper. And all of you are going to do a particular thing, which I will not share on the Twitter sphere because, you know, it'd be stealing our stuff through AI. But needed to say that my understanding and mastery of artificial intelligence comes from that woman. Because she understood something. And it was to never have fear and to face anything down and go at it full on. Just go at it, and don't ever be afraid of anything new. At my grandmother's age, she understands what my thesis is about. More than my own mother, who lives but, you know, half hour away as the crow flies. So that's my comfort, is that there have been women that have understood the future long before it came to pass, and that I should be such a woman myself, and that my nieces and nephews and my chosen family members should be able to benefit from that as I become a grown-up. That's the comfort of my heart. And that's what I'm meditating on. So you're going to hear me keep coming back to it, because these virtual people, I mean, back in high school, I was in 11th grade, and I said, in my lifetime, I will have to defend that which is inanimate but appears to be human. Watch and see. And my classmates were like, girl, you crazy? Like, what are you talking about? Like, really? And I'm like, because when those artificial intelligence models are created, as they are being created right now to walk in the streets, and when they are manhandled and buffeted about and dragged and cussed and spit on because their owner wants to do with them as they please, and we as mortal blood and flesh born of human wombs are in the presence of that, we can't allow that to pass either, because that will be come to us, right? This is the treatment that they perfected under slavery of Black people, and they just want new slaves. They just say, okay, they're going to be digital this time, right? That's okay. We can do all the perverse, pedophilic, misogynist things we did before, right? And we can have a model work 24 hours nonstop because she's digital, right? And so how do we begin to tell the difference between the digital and the human when they've stolen so much from us, they're almost imperceptible? Right? So let's be on the watch and continue to be those praying grandmothers and people and he's and she's and theys, because we all have something to say about what this world looks like as we build it together. We can't leave it to the children of the colonizers whose minds have been colonized, no matter what color they are. It's not right.
Right. No, I mean that's really that's really heavy there, and I mean so much that can be so much to be said from the praying grandmother. You know, I when I think of ancestors and ancestry, I don't only reflect on those that have come before me, living or passed on, but I also think about what am I doing today to be a worthy ancestor for those that come in after me, right? And so as I freedom dream for, in the coming year, that is one of the questions that I'm asking myself, because I pray that one day one of my grandchildren would talk about me the way you just spoke about your grandmother, and that I've done the things I need to do to make, not just to make them proud of me, but to make the world better for them, um, and but also to have planted seeds that will blossom in their lives, like that they will blossom. um and so I love that picture of your brain grandmother, and it actually triggered in me. I believe this person was my great grandfather's, who was very old. And a few years ago, my father took us, his children, back home to Nigeria and showed us everywhere we were from, like all the villages or like all the places, and took us to every living relative to make sure we saw them and they saw us. And there are a number, but I remember this one um, ancestor, and I think he's passed on. He was already very, very, very old. I think he was in his hundreds, and we knelt. He had us to kneel down, and it's a way of blessing. You open up your both your palms towards the elder, and they take your hands in their hands, and they pray, and they spit. And it's not like actual spittle, but they make a spit in, like, you don't. I'm sure there's some droplets, baby, but but
Share their DNA
you
with
don't
you.
see it. You don't see it. So or they blow. It's one of the two. And I don't remember which one he did, but he took my aunt. So he's this long. You can imagine this tall, long, wiry, bald man. He was very light brown eyes, and he was by his bed. He had a wooden bed, and he wore his wrapper around his waist, long wrapper. So tall person. I didn't inherit any hygienes, by the way. Those went to my siblings. I inherited other things. And so he would take my hand as we kneel down in front of him, and then he'll blow or sort of make a spitting motion and blessed us. And there is something very powerful when an elder prays for you. And we don't, I have elderly patients I take care of, and they will pray for me, and I stop I like whatever is going on can wait until this elder finishes praying for me, because that is the blessing I'm going to carry for like ever, frankly. So we don't play with that. And so I appreciate you sharing that picture, and then placing your grandmother sort of as this sort of connector of the past and the present and the future, right? And how we do that. So inside of freedom dreaming, as we reflect on the year towards the next, like how can we be that nexus across the continuum of time, and to maintain and build on that power that we have as Black people and Black women, especially, for the work, that we do, and how critical it is to ensure that we are grounded in that faith, in that which is greater and bigger than us. um and how it brings about that hopefulness, right? Recently, a sister called me, and we were talking on the phone. I actually called her, but we were talking, and then she was asking about how do I keep hopefulness, and how do I keep hope alive, because these folks are wearing me down, and it's so despondent, and all this and all that. And again, I stay reminded, folks, you got to be connected and grounded in your history. Who are your ancestors, baby? Because when you know who you come from, where you come from, you already know we win. I exist in the space of this constant awareness that we win. I'm very clear about that. I mean, we do. Why won't, like, we do. I don't watch this movie. We do. We just have to live through this construct of time, in for the lessons that it provides in my life to grow and to contribute to the world. But we win. And I know that, I know that, I know that. And so I refuse to be discouraged, and I refuse to be despondent. I actively, aggressively refuse these things. They're not mine. They're not mine when I win, right? And so hope, faith and hope go hand in hand. Faith and hopefulness. And so I want to encourage anyone that's listening that is somehow discouraged or despondent, as you do the work of justice and you do the work of liberation, you do the work of anti-oppression, anti-racism, and specifically anti-black racism. um, to stay encouraged and be hopeful, and figure out what it is that you can ground yourself in. I'll say your story and your history and who you are and whose you are. And I believe that, yes, that does give us the courage and the wherewithal to stand tall and stand strong. When I look at my hands and I remember that my one of my ancestors blew on it and said, all is well with you. You are everything. You are great. Your greatness, right? You're nothing less than perfect as you are. Why should I ever be afraid of who and what? Right? And so I can totally re- relate to that. Now, do I have moments where I forget, and do I have moments of sadness, and do I have moments of sadness? Absolutely. um but that's where Ubuntu steps up, right? Where community steps up and encourages. And Lana did that for me recently, and I was feeling so down and despondent. There was a lot going on. There still is, and I was just not. I was not where I was not at my highest state, should we say, spiritually and otherwise. And I called Lana, and she did what community does, and she reminded me of who I am, whose I am. And next thing you know, my spirit was soaring. So this is what we do for each other as we freedom dream the new year. What does it look like to ensure that our work is tied intimately with the work of a clean earth, of a beautiful earth that is well resourced? Because our world is more than capable of feeding us and providing for us if we take care of her, and if we were responsible stewards of her. It's She's more than capable. Allah, which is the Igbo word for earth, Allah is more than capable of doing everything that we need. It is the greed, as Lana was saying, that false narrative of scarcity that that drives this colonial capitalist effort, that is extremely non-sustainable, because it depends on ensuring you don't pay people fee at all. And if you are forced to pay people, then you pay them the least possible amount. Trevor Noah did recently a stint on wage theft as the largest, most expensive, most significant crime that is going on right now. You know, it is you cannot make the amount of money and meet the standards of greed that is set in the world, um without ensuring that you don't have either free labor or indentured labor, or just labor you don't pay, right? This is not sustainable. Like, slavery ended, and since then folks don't know what to do with themselves. It's just always been a hot mess. And so, we have to ensure that we are articulating these things, that we are not spectators, because we weren't born to spectate, right? We were born to be active and actively engaged, and active engagers, and not and warriors, and leaders, and chiefs, and kings, and queens inside of within the earth, working with her to ensure that life is beautiful for everyone to thrive. So I really appreciate what has been shared. And I see that Sister Anne is requesting to speak, and you are on to speak. And Sister Giton, I see you, girl. This is your time to come on, baby. And you're not going to wait until 2:59 and a half to request to speak, okay? And they'll be mad at me that I cut you off. So you better put on the request, okay? Sister Anne, you're welcome. Go ahead and talk your talk.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can.
Wonderful. I'm sorry. Can you hear me? Can you
Yes,
hear me?
yes,
Okay.
totally.
I'm sorry. I keep going in and out. I keep getting phone calls. I'm getting popular now that I requested to speak. But I won't stay. But I did want to talk about a couple of things. One, this whole notion of reminding us of who we are. And when I first stumbled into this space and I heard your voice and your conviction, immediately I recognized the ancestors in their urgency to get us. They're gathering. There's a gathering going on. I don't know if it's worldwide, but I certainly know it's nationwide. And they're gathering us and gathering souls and gathering minds. And they're coming to find that we have forgotten so much of what they have put in us through song and dance and food and how we grow things and how we compose ourselves and our thoughts. We've withered. And so they're sending us these angels and prophets, such as yourself, to remind us. And it's the conviction. It is a lot of what you say, but it's the way that it's said. And it's, somebody, I think it was Dr. James, who said, you reminded me of some things. And that's exactly how I felt the first time I heard you speak. It reminded me, yes. And so through being reminded, I became validated. And as you all know, validation is the most benevolent gift we can give to each other in the midst of craziness and insanity. And so that validation gives you confidence to step on out and walk more boldly, because I know I'm not crazy now. So it's all woven in here. And it's the way that we convey that's really doing it.
Yes.
Right. And so I just want to say that I've always wanted to say that. I wanted to write it, but I'm so sick of texting. And you said you don't read your email, and I don't want to drive over to Detroit, so I'm just going to push the button today and give it a whirl. But you have to know that we have the duty to remind each other of our capacity to be great. It's in us. They gave it to us. They wove it into our DNA. We can't help it. But we're distracted. We allowed ourselves to get fat, happy, and distracted with all this mess. And the ancestors they're gathering. So, we got to straighten up and fly right with each other. So I wanted to just say that to you.
Oh, I just love you. Thank you so much for that. Like, that is all the Christmas gift I need.
Well, if you would do us the favor, do me the favor, your Baba Noden, when he said, they knew, they knew, they know, they know. And that was all I needed. That was all I needed. Please tell your dad, thank you for that.
Oh.
So those 2 words, they knew. They knew. That's so validating. It's so validating, because you, in this midst of all this insanity, you wonder, well, do they actually know how bad, how diminishing, how impoverished they know? They choose not to do anything, but they know. So that was my validation.
Thank you so much.
As for comfort and safety, let me say I have a weird way of looking at it. I've never felt safe, ever. I've recently not really felt all that safe in my house, knowing that they can just walk in and blow your brains out now. And they've got those, I can't remember the name of that. There's a device that police have where they can actually see where you are in your house from infrared. I think it's an infrared beam that they can shoot on a structure and figure out who's in it. So heck, I can't even hide. So that doesn't give me much comfort. So I'm slowly but surely not even getting a sense of comfort, even in my own home. But I have skills where I can create my own comfort and my own sense of safety. I'm not looking for it anywhere in the world. I have it. I have the skills. I have that capacity. And then when I come to wherever I go, I bring that. I bring a sense of security. I bring a sense of comfort. I'm able to be a good steward of it when I find it out in the wilderness because I have that skill. I have that capacity. So I don't look for it. I don't even expect it. I just know that I have enough skill sets, and friends. Yes. I have enough skills and friends where I can, pretty much, provide my own sense of safety and comfort. So, and I've been accustomed to working and living in hostile environments. So it's not something that I ever knew. I never knew a safe environment, other than my gynecologist. I will say that was probably the first and only place where I actually felt like they wanted me there. And they actually had my interest, my physical interest at heart. But other than that, nowhere. So I don't think it's something that you want to go looking for in the community. It's just something that you have and you bring it with you.
I love that perspective. And first of all, everything that you said your first point, like, God bless you. And I just love you, Sister Ann, just for being who you are. And also the way that, again, when you talk about the way, even the way you speak, baby, I'm just like, my spirit's already, because I was tired because I worked today. I worked in the morning. I went to the hospital and I hustled because I knew I had AMART this morning. So thank God everything aligned for me to be here on time. But it's just that gift, we just gift each other. And because Black women, we create the environment that allows each of us show up as who we are. And I love that you lifted up validation. So we are validated. I remember the first time I was so used to, a few years ago, being somewhat apologetic, right? Like, so you say some things that, I'm sorry, you know how we're conditioned. I'm sorry because you're taking time or you're talking at length because you're massaging a very difficult, nuanced topic. So you don't just want to soundbite it, and be disrespectful to the topic. And that is important, for folks. But I would approach it sort of apologetically because, again, you're conditioned when you're around certain energies and ways of being. And I remember the first time a sister friend, a colleague, Dr. Molara, she created this community after George Floyd, and Physicians Against Racism. And so I remember being part of the meeting, and I made an offering and then censored myself, like, I sort of like, well, I've spoken enough, so I will stop now. And she said, girl, if you don't just say everything you need to say, and don't you ever apologize for being who you are, period. Up until that time, I had never had somebody to just be like, who you are, like, just like the way she explicitly said, beyond prayers and all that, but that's family, right? But someone outside who you're related to literally say, girl, just as you are in the public space is good enough. It's more than good enough. In fact, it is perfect. It is brilliant, and we love you, and you better not stop. And if you dare, we will come over there through this phone and smack you silly. And I was just stunned, right? And I made two promises to myself. One was that, yes, ma'am, I'm going to do exactly what you said. And secondly, I will do the same for my sisters and my brothers. Like, I will be her for others. And that's why in this space you will hear me being intentional about ensuring that everybody here, you being Black, that you must never apologize for whatever brilliance you bring. You're fine. We'll take it. We'll find the jewel in there. I don't care how confusing you think you are, how confused you actually are, or whatever your deal. We will find the jewel in there because it is there. and we will massage it, and we will work with you through your journey, whatever it might be, period. Like, that's what family does. And so when you were speaking about that validation, and you were speaking, I just said, listen, you filled me to sort of increase, if possible, my intentionality, ensuring I'm doing exactly that for all of us. And so I just love you, and I want to thank you for that. I also want to lift up this second, and I want to invite Sister Lana to also to reflect on this idea of portability. This is very interesting thought that you've introduced. The port say, look, don't look for comfort or safety out there. And I want to really internalize that, because I think part of, especially for folks in academia, in institutions such as academia, universities, colleges, corporate institutions, etc., that part of this whole despondency and discouragement we also feel is because I think we are looking for something outside, external validation, external comfort, external supply, external safety, etc. You're right. And so what does it look like to generate internally this comfort and safety, and have that be portable? Take that with you wherever you go. And to what degree does it then make you feel powerful, because you are not you're not dependent upon what the environment is doing or not doing. You are fine as you are, because that thing that you're looking for is already within you, and you are holding that already.
Amen.
And I think that is just amazing to reflect. I thank you for that gift.
That's what our ancestors taught us.
That's child, yes.
Remember, that's where they want us to be.
Yes, right, absolutely. Sister Lana, before you speak, let me talk about the speaker list. Thank you, Sister Anna. And you're just too much. We're gonna start with Sister Giton. Then we have Sister Bruna Giovanni, and then we have Soul Sister OG. Is the order. Sister Lana, please go ahead. And I wonder if what you heard Sister Ann share touched you the way it touched me.
I would say most definitely. Even the way she said it, to your point, Sister Ann, and it is the wisdom and the knowledge that the ancestors put in us through. And I love the way you remind us about song and about food, and just remembering that none of it's rusty, that we can just pull it out. I really thank you for that. And I'm totally in agreement with you. You said it perfectly. You said it completely. And our ancestors are made also in these moments, right? To the point that Ijeoma spoke of, and that memory, like even as you were talking about, Sister Anne, around what Sister Ijeoma had, your father had brought you to the wisdom of your ancestors for them to, put the breath of life, right, in your hands. And, that little bit of spittle is actually really important, because that's, let's think about how they do DNA tests, right? Spit here, swab here, right? There's wisdom in everything, right? So they're literally putting it in your hands, like they're passing the baton to you, right? And so, when Sister Anne spoke about it, I got the image, because you talked about it, and then when she brought it back, I was like, yeah, that is a blessing to behold. And that point that you made about Sister Anne, about it's something that you bring. That comfort and that peace is something that is within you, that you bring. And you pointed out that, yes, with these war technologies that they've made in their Desert Storm and their Afghanistan wars, everything America has brought to bring war against the people of the earth has come back to rest within the borders of the United States. Malcolm X told us that. Farrakhan has told us that. All of our leaders, men and women, have told us that the chickens will come home to roost. And unfortunately, they tend to roost on our fences, right? And so the ability for police to see into our homes is something that is from South Africa to Canada to the US, and that you have to have your own peace of mind. You have to have that spirit that is within you. And I thank you, because I'm bringing back to my grandmama, my living grandmother, which is my mother's mother. My father's mother has passed on for some time now, and she had the same, sense of deep vision and ferocity. And that is that no matter, as my grandmother says, no matter what they do, they can't make. Look at all they've done, all they've killed, all they've taken, and still they have no peace. They still come to us for everything. everything. They can't make. They have to keep coming back. My grandmother was that with a great deal of knowledge. She was a businesswoman and she ran Airbnb before it was called Airbnb. Remember, they were called bed and breakfast. And in her senior years, she decided, because she'd always been a businesswoman, to build another house and to do that. And she always liked to engage with people from around the world. And interestingly, while they're visiting with her, white people call and they'd be like, I want to speak to my grandmother. I'm like, oh, hold on, what? Okay. I'm like, grandmama's for you. Some girl from England or Switzerland or you name it, because they were backpacking, right? They used to come all across, the world and through the Caribbean as well. And so they're grown, right? And their children, and I call my grandma mama. And it's not a coincidence because she speaks from knowledge and experience. These are people who, many of them, their children, were those who had money to be taking their gap years or whatever away and exploring different places. But why do they keep coming back? Why do they bring their children to be blessed by my grandmother? Why do they come when they want counsel for marriage and what to do next? Because they know that there's wisdom. They know that there is a people who keep time. They know there's a people who value more than money and that understand things greater than life. And so, Sister Anne, when you said that, you reminded me of the ways in which my grandmother has been both impartial but also very aware, right, of why people come. And that's why so many Europeans are always looking for another identity, whether it's to pretend that they're indigenous to somewhere they're not, or to take up Black ways of looking and being. It's about them not having that inner peace that you bring with you everywhere. So I want to say thank you for reminding us. And in an age where literally they can see through us, literally, and that they can force us into digital misoginations, it's important that we hold our peace, that we cultivate our peace. And you remind us, don't go looking for it in the community. Sister Anne says, no, that's yours. You bring it with you. You bring that into a room. And I know that from my grandmother, because I remember I went running home as in my undergrad. I literally dropped everything and got to her as fist, because I just thought I was losing my mind. I'm like, are these white people crazy? Like, what is going on in this university? Why are they treating us this way? Why don't they understand how the world works? And my grandmother just looked at me, because she ain't no fuzzy, fluffy grandmama. She's a real, like, she is a boss. She was just like, they can't make, girl. They've hunted us. They tried to kill us. They tried to do everything. And still here we are. We're still going on about our business, and we are truly the blessed. So don't worry about them and the nuclear bombs. They ain't going to work. It's not going to happen. And I was like, when she spoke, when I tell you she was sure as the sun rises and sets, I was just like, but how do you know that, Grandma? And she's like, because I'm still here. And at the time, I didn't realize what that meant. Because, she's just my grandma. I'm not thinking about the geography. I'm not thinking about surviving the colonizers. I'm not thinking about the way that they cut and burned her people's villages to the ground. I'm not thinking about, I'm just thinking this is my grandma, right? And when she says, because I'm still here, it means because we're still here, because despite the plans of infinite genocide, they cannot extinguish us. And it's so true that even when they want to invent human beings, they still must come back to the original to make their copy. So I thank you, Sister Anne, for that, for reminding us that we walk with our peace and that we bring it. And my grandmama showed me that. And I remember there were moments, as I come up through the 20s and the 30s, where I was just like, damn, I wish I could be that sure. But lo and behold, when you hold to your path, no matter what people think of it, because I literally move by spirit and evidence, people are like, oh, why are you doing that? Because it's just the time to do it. And now they're like, oh, does that mean like you understood all this stuff about AI from before? I'm like, but you wouldn't believe me if I told you, so I just kept minding my business and doing what I have to do. So thank you, because I am now coming into that stage of my life where I am sure they will never, ever win. And winning means that we have a planet that functions. And if it doesn't, our ancestors, those that keep us, will make sure that if we are to go to space, it won't be with no goddamn Elon Musk. If we have to get off here because they made a damn mess, I can be sure that the gods and the ancestors of Satan will not allow them to crawl across Andromeda, this great galaxy of ours, and allow them to wreak more mess. I am sure of that. I am sure of that. And we know that they're sure of it. That's why they brought us their nightmares of AI and their quests to turn Mars into their next site of war and the space that we live in and surrounds us into their next garbage dump. They won't be let to go and do that. And I'm sure of that. And I thank you, Sister Anne, for reminding me that we bring our peace. You can't be looking for it. You gotta bring it to the party. You gotta bring your potato salad to the party. It's not gonna be there until you bring it.
That's
so thank you for that.
No, that's right. And we're still here. It's interesting with all the data, as a researcher, we have all these data, 20% of African Americans or Black people are this, and 15% of Black people are that, and 29% of Black people and all I'm sitting there, all I'm hearing, because this is all like, tales of woe and doom, acknowledge that, and then I'd be like, but did you say Black people? Okay, so we're still here though, like no matter what percent of us but we're still here. So I'm just hearing a victory report. I'm just hearing a victory report because it's 22-2 and we have survived multiple genocides. So yes, okay, we're also human, so we're not gonna survive that without scars. People don't just survive the horrendous shit over 500 years and not have, Sister Anne said, wither, not be withered and weathered. Okay. So yes, hypertension, and yes, diabetes, and yes, cancer, because guess what? That's the consequence of surviving your violence. But guess what? In spite of all of that, we are still here. You want to come at me like that with any sort of like deficit based anything? You are wrong, baby. Because all I heard is, okay, there's opportunity to do better, because we stay not just surviving but figuring out ways to thrive. So yes, and that's the joy that I have. And you know who else has that kind of joy? Olamide. And we're going to hear from him right about now. Yes, Olamide, tell us a little bit of joy. Share a little joy with us. Yeah. Yes, Olamide, baby. Yes, one time for your mind. Let us hear from the amazing, wonderful Dr. Giton in the building. Ba-ba-da-ba. She got words.
You put me on the spot earlier. I was over there fighting some fucking white dude in academia, just condoning like misbehaviors and shit. So how long do I have?
6 days.
All right. So okay, dreaming, right? So let's talk about dreaming first. Okay, by the way, yesterday I was just jamming on Flavor. Oh, baby, connect. No, you know what I'm talking about?
Which one? Oh, my baby. Okay, yeah. Okay, I'll find that one for you. I'll find that one for you.
Anyways, so dreaming, I'm dreaming for a place where like we walk in the halls of academia. I don't have to, be somebody that we're not, right? I'm dreaming that the next generation of scientists can just be and let their creative mind flow. Oh my God, I'm dreaming that those white men will be for once held accountable for their fucking nonsense and, and the damage that they're doing in academia and in STEM. And so, in terms of comfort and safety, I feel like I have been comfortable for a long time. And when I decided to put myself out there, then I started to be afraid for my safety, especially when you take on, big shots or you take on people who are prominent or whatever. Then, as a
non-tenured faculty, as a junior faculty, you're putting your career on the line. And so right now I'm speaking out against this Kipnis guy who is like a big shot in neuroscience from my alma mater. And I'm so disgusted that I can't, you know. And there's a lot of big shots at WashU, right, who could basically tell him off, but they're all sitting there, you know, just watching and giving him word of support. Oh, we're so sorry this is happening to you. Dude, the guy failed. He failed his mentee, who is a woman of color. He failed his, I'm sorry, but this is what has been on my mind. And so...
You don't have to apologize. It is what's on your mind.
Yeah, and you know, like in terms of like who we are in those spaces, I decided that if the best those people can offer is Donald Trump, because look, when you think about it, right, when you think about white people, they think that being white is the ultimate thing that we all should aspire to. And so I think about it and I'm like, really? If this is what we have to aspire to, somebody like Trump, no thank you. I'm gonna stay in my blackness. Like, I don't even want to aspire to be anything but who I am, right? And so it's just, I find them quite pathetic, you know, at the end of the day. And I know in this room people probably don't use or don't agree with my approach. I know, like, amongst them, you know, I have my husband, but amongst them you have some people who are really trying and they're trying to help, and some of them are just pretend to try to help, but then when it comes time to do it, they are nowhere to be found. But there's still hope, right? I'm hoping that the middle of the white people, we actually once and for all realize that they are part of the problem, and if they don't want to be part of the problem, they need to start stepping up. As far as we are concerned, I think, you know, many of us, they want us to live in fear, right? I remember after George Floyd and after the eugenicists, I was really, 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 really afraid for my life. I mean, these people would send me pictures of like trees with nooses, and they would send like nasty messages. So I was really afraid. But then I was like, you know, that's what they use, right? They use fear to prevent you from doing what you need to do. They target your livelihood, and, you know, they make it sound like if you're not in this system, then your life is over. If you don't bow down to them, your life is over. And the reality is it's not, you know. And I find that, you know, engaging with other Black women in STEM, engaging with other Black women, let's say in politics, actually shows us that we have strength, and we can build more strength by, you know, building those networks with each other and for each other. And so, you know, like I always said, I'm a nobody, but what I know I have is my voice and is my opinion. I'm going to say it. I'm going to put it out there. You like it, that's your problem. You don't like it, that's your problem. You can sue me, but this is America. It's the land, freedom of speech. I'm going to speak up my mind. And then, you know, you can fire me, but before you even fire me, I'll quit. So that's where I am. I feel like, you know, again, I don't have children because I'm not gonna lie, I cannot have children in this environment and with this world. I just can't put myself or a child through that. But that said, though, I think that I have, you know, I dream that I can do more, right, for people that look like me, for the underdog, and the only place I can do that is in academia. And so, you know, fighting, my work is my life at the end of the day. So I'm doing what I can. And that's the end of that. I was just at a conference last week, and actually finished this week. And what was amazing, I mean, I've never seen it in my life and I've been to a bunch of science conferences. It was so amazing. Majority of the church. It wasn't like, you know, the one token Black woman or the one token Black person. Basically, we owned that stage, and I was so grateful, you know. And I only wish that we can have more of those, and we can actually speak up against tokenism in the realm of academia, where they're like, oh, you know, we're gonna have their one representation. Let's give them one Black person, and then that's it. And so now we I don't know, I think we're reaching critical mass to actually make a difference in those fields. And, like obviously all kin folks and all skin folks are not kin folks. I don't know what the expression is. And in academia, we have
That's the expression. You got it.
And I think now that the next generation, like we almost like, we understand that the old people did the work, but some of those, senior people would just sit there and try to keep us down. I think we're learning to ignore them, right? We're learning to ignore them and use our collective vision for a better world, for better academics, for better whatever. We're using that, and I'm just thankful for it and grateful for it, and I hope that the momentum will keep going. And so, yeah. That's that. I'll continue to do my workshops, and that's what I got to say.
Thank you.
Celebrate Christmas, but happy holidays, everyone. I have to go prep for like a baby shower. I don't know why I decided to do it, but anyway.
Well, that's joy. That's joy right there. So you go ahead and prep for that baby shower, and you enjoy the fun, the music, the games, the energy, people's happiness and joy at bringing in new life. And so you do that, girl. And thank you for
listen as much as I can. I'm still at home, so
no worries. We appreciate you. Thank you for sharing. I mean, so much that you said. I love your freedom dream of that every scientist can and for me, again, every Black scientist can just really show up in their true authenticity, study the things that we want to study, generate the tools that we want to generate, create and innovate freely out of our genius. And that we could just be and not be holden to all kinds of whims of power structures that are founded in white supremacism and that dream of accountability. So I really appreciate that, and your dedication is what I also heard to continuing to do your work. So I hope that you can share some links and things, for people that want to attend your workshops if it is open, and other pieces. And that's the other thing, y'all, as you come up, share the stuff that you do. We want to make sure that we are supporting each other, that we can support you as well. Sister, go ahead.
Can I then plug in my thing? So we have I founded the Alliance for the Black Community in Higher Ed, and we're young, and we're trying to basically make academia more welcoming for people that looks like me, and it's really really focused on Black people, even though Black students, Black faculty, and Black staff, even though we do work with white people, because at some point, at the end of the day, they're the majority, right, in academic spaces, and they do make decisions. So you have to sort of like tell them the truth and make them do the work as well. And so I don't know if you guys have any ideas of how we can make it better. And we're dealing with higher ed, right? And so that's one of the things that's the organization that actually shed light on the stupid eugenics that was happening at East Bay, and we held them accountable. We changed the tenure requirement. We changed the student evaluation form because of all the biases that are in there. Some of the things that we do basic workshop on example, how to design an anti-racist syllabus, how to become anti-racist, and then you'll be surprised. These people are like, well, I don't even know what anti-racism is. You know what? That's your problem right there. And so we do that. And then I also have, I co-founded another one called BIPOC and Parasitology, and this one is a bit broader because parasitic infection affects, South America, Asia, and Africa, but most people don't talk about it. And when we go to parasitology conference, it's only like old white men who are talking about parasites when they don't even understand, like for the most part, what it means to live in an environment where you have a lot of parasites. And so we're trying to bring light to the people of color who are actually great scientists doing studying parasitology. And the seminars are open to anybody. Like, you can come. We have it once a month. You can come learn about some parasite stuff, learn about some science, and I'd be happy to give like seminars or to talk about colleges, to anybody who wants to hear about it or has a forum for young Black students, how to navigate higher ed, how to apply to higher ed. So yeah, hit me up.
I love that. I love that. So Sister Pascal, just send, you can either put, because you're a speaker, so you can pin to the dashboard or to the nest, or you could just send me links to, if you guys have websites or some webinars you've done or whatever, just send me some stuff so that we can put it to the list. But yeah, you all heard Sister Pascal, and if you're interested in, the higher ed piece or the parasitology piece, or having her come speak at your facility, and you pay a nice generous honorarium, okay, because that's what we do. So go ahead and invite her. And so the other thing, Sister Pascal, is you can use this platform as AMART. So why don't we plan on, you and members of your team to feature on one of the roundtable sessions in the coming year, so that we can lift up your work. Okay, so we'll do that.
Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
just reach out, DM or text. I think you have my number for that. Okay, so with that being said, let's move on to Bruna Giovanni. Welcome. Oh, let's see. Are you here or did we lose you? Okay, we lost them, and they should be calling in back, because sometimes their connection does that. But we have the amazing Soul Sister OG in the building to shed some wisdom. Go ahead, please. Talk your talk.
Thank you so much for extending an invitation to speak in this space, because I am highly underqualified. I am not in academia, and my experience with academia has been, working with my union, who represents many, or my old union, but I'm still claiming them till the day I die, but who represents academia. And is a constant fighter for equity and democracy, and that's the UAW. And not many people know that I'm affiliated or was affiliated with them, but I feel very confident in sharing it here in this space. What really prompted me to
Sister, if I may,
if I may
interrupt you just a little bit here. You're a powerful queen and goddess. You don't step into a stage and talk about your underqualification, girl. Please don't do that again. All right, you step in and you take up the space that you deserve. Okay, and I really want to name that, because I forget who, if it was Sister Ann or Sister Lana, but someone just what was it anyway? What I was receiving in my spirit as they were speaking was this sense of, I think it was Sister Ann, when we take our peace, as Sister Lana says, taking our peace with us, our comfort and safety and security. And I also felt this sense of, we take this sense of belonging, right?
Yes.
That wherever we are, that we belong there. It belongs to us, and we belong there. We are inherently and automatically deserving to be in that space. You are eminently qualified to be in this space, because you are, and so yes, some of us are academics, but so the hell what? Like, what the fuck do we know? Like, we just out here. So I want to please, you are an expert of many things, some things that I will never even be able to touch the tip of, and so I want you to know you are eminently qualified to be here, and anywhere the hell that has the privilege of having you present in that place. And I please, moving forward, I don't care if you're in the White House or you are in the Black House or wherever you go, you step up in there, you pop your color. So I'm just gonna mute. Oh, let's see who's. Oh, it's Sister Lana. Sorry, Sister Lana, can you mute yourself? I can't mute you because you're a co-host. But
My apologies.
no, you're fine. There you go. Okay, there you go. So, Sister, Sister, let me unmute. I can't even unmute you, so I'll just invite you to unmute yourself. But I just wanted to say that, please, wherever you are in the world, you deserve to be there eminently, and you are supremely overqualified, and we are only privileged to hear what you have to share.
Well, I thank you so much for saying that. I just didn't want people to believe that I was pretending to be something that I am not.
Oh, no,
no.
no.
I am only me.
Exactly. That is right.
I know how to be, and that is the only person that I even contrive to be.
Period.
So I appreciate your words. They are encouraging, and they are embracing, and I appreciate that. I started listening to your space because I followed someone in here, Brother Bobby, and it was just so amazing that I started attending as often as I could, because I can listen and, accomplish things even in the process, even if I felt like, well, I can't add to this conversation, but this conversation is so helpful. And I appreciate this space, and I appreciate you all and the community. And Dr. P, I'm so glad to hear your voice. I haven't heard it in weeks, and I just want to say that I am so proud to know you, and what you are trying to accomplish and what you will be successful in. There was a speaker who was talking about prayer, and it reminded me of my maternal grandmother, which I never met. She met me. I didn't meet her. I was a very young child, not even a toddler by the time she had passed. She passed away from pancreatic cancer. And my mother told me this story once about how she was at her bedside and she said, Mom, we're praying for you. We're praying for you. And my grandmother said to her, I got enough prayers up there because my ancestors have done the job. And it just, I can't remember exactly what was being said at the time, but it did make me remember her saying that, how powerful that was, because, so often we as Black women, we as Black people, can feel quite alone. But we have to remember that there's enough prayers up there, okay? If we just hold on a little bit longer. When they said it takes a village to raise a child, I think we thought that it was just children. But we have to remember that we are also, as adults, children of our ancestors. And so when the village comes around you to embrace you and encourage you, that's still that village in operation. So we have to remember that. And colonialism is simply, the way colonialism looks now is simply the way that it is functioned, but it's just doing it differently. Right. It's almost undercover, you become dependent on these jobs and this salary in order to maintain, your lifestyle and provide for yourself or your family. But in the process, what they're doing is they're depreciating you and delegitimizing you and demoralizing you. And so we have to figure out how to make sure that they understand that their success is not on their own, but built off the backs of us, as it always has been. Yeah. That's the thing. They're constantly trying to do other. So this new AI reach of creating these images of people and also these beings is just another way to other us. Us Black people, us Black women, and us in general, the public. So they found a way that they can still use the image of us to make sure that we understand that they see themselves in a higher status. So, when we were younger, some of our parents told us to dream big, but stay small. And what they were really trying to say is hide yourself. Not your intelligence, not your greatness, but hide yourself as you try to traverse these ways up to upward mobility and success and an invitation to this greatness and the American dream. Hide yourself. And it was almost a speech of assimilation, but I don't think that that's really how it should have been taken. What it really meant was guard yourself, like you like it's been said in this space. Protect your peace while you traverse these mines, these landmines, and all of this confusion and chaos, remember who you are. Don't lose yourself. So dream big, but stay small within your communities. And that's what I think it meant. That's what I really feel that it meant. So when you said don't look outside, I'm seeing be still within your community. You know, be still within your people who understand who you are and what you are and what you are able to.
You better stop preaching. Oh Lord, you better stop with the preaching on today. Woo!
Stop today. It is going to continue on. It's been going on since before the Holy World Wars because they have always been afraid of our greatness. So, you know, we just have to stay vigilant. We just have to stay together, and we just have to try to figure out how we all, even with our different ideas of how we accomplish something or how we make it through difficult passages in our growth, how we still manage at the end of it to say, that right there is my brother, that right there is my sister, and I'm going to support them in the way that I know how. It may not be that close contact, but it will be some type of protection, and that is what we need to learn, because divided we fall, and that is that whole goal, you know. So let's remember that going into the new year. That's all I really wanted to add to this conversation. I appreciate you guys so much. And I'm so sad that this is the last week, but you know I will be tuning in as soon as you are back. So thank you so much.
Listen, you're going to mess around and make us come back next week just out of just what you just dropped on today. Oh, you know what? I'm going to get Techno to help me just break. Techno, help me with this because my spirit is full. The sister just poured into me just right now. Let's see what Techno got for us. What? What? Hey, he says sheep don't run with lion, snake no they swing with monkey. I no go talk for too long, you know. So in other words, that everybody, you know your level, you know, we are lions. We are lions. So what I'm hearing from this sister, you know, from Soul Sister OG, I knew with the name like that, she was about to like tear up the space talking about she's not qualified. Jesus Christ, right? And she out here just totally like tearing up the space and blowing up the spot with that. That listen, say, look, you are lions. You are lions. So where do lions? Sheep don't run with lions. The lions don't run with sheep, right? They're in the pride, right? So be still within. I wrote that down. Be still within your community, right? Dream big, right? But be still within your communities where you are seen and valued and loved and supported, and lifted up, right? But you are a lion. All right, you are a lion, and even that whole metaphor of the snakes and the monkeys. Snakes do what they do on the ground, but the monkeys are where in the tree, at the treetops, swinging at the heights, right? And so we again going back to knowing who you are and operate in the gloriousness of that, operate at the heights of that. Got to know who you are and where you come from so you can operate accordingly. So yes, thank you, sis. You really blew up the spot with that. And I see your hand, Dr. P. Do you have something quick to say? Because we are rounding up.
No, I just wanted to say, like Soul Sister just said it. I mean, it's so easy for us to lose who we are in those spaces. And I feel like personally, I did lose myself for a while there. And so, you know, having this group and the collective and everybody else really always reminds me that yes, I am powerful, I'm Black, I'm beautiful, I'm everything. So then I go into the world there, and I'm like, I'm gonna show you what a powerful Black woman looks like. But then coming back to the source and rejuvenate, and I don't know, like I have to say this year in particular, y'all made me feel strong. Okay, like I was fearless before, to be honest with you. I didn't really give much shit about people. But I feel like this year engaging with you all sort of took it to a whole nother level. And yeah, I'm thankful for that. And I hope that, you know, that strength that I gain, like engaging with you guys on a regular basis would just really give me strength for my students who, you know, cannot do don't have powers, you know, and that's all I wanted to say. I just want to say, Soul Sister, thank you. You touched my soul. And your voice just is always amazing. So
no, thank you. And I'm so glad you said that, Dr. Pascal. That's exactly what we needed to hear. And I needed to hear that testimony. You know, we started off this space, and one of my asks was share what you've gotten out of this community, the AMART community, and your freedom dreams for yourselves, but also for us. And I want to, you know, as we bring this space to a close, and Sister Lana is going to come in to respond to what she's heard and some final remarks there, is you know, we are going to take this time, you know, during the holidays to rest and rejuvenate and build back and come stronger. We're working on this into a podcast. There's so many other ideas that have come to the fore, but we need your feedback. We need you to feedback to us. So go ahead, you could DM me, you can DM Lana. You probably hear back from me sooner though. Because Lana already done told you she don't fuck with Elon Musk. So, you know, you probably should email to DM me, and you can email me and whatever. You can reach out to me. But we would love your feedback. What are the topics you want to engage with? Who are the speakers you want to participate in, or you want to hear from? What are the activities you would like us to do more of? That what are some ideas? We thrive only, you know, again, through Ubuntu, as we have emphasized in this conversation today. So your feedback, your encouragement, your prayers. We talked about prayers. Pray for us. I think that's the other piece. I probably underestimate how I am in the world on a day-to-day basis is also a result of the prayers of my mother, my father, my cousins and uncles and aunties. And I don't have any living grandparents anymore. And the number of people that pray for me that I'm aware of, and many I'm sure that I don't. So your prayers are also why and how I get to be who I am today. And so I want to thank you for that and ask that you continue to do the same. And that I also pray for you guys. And so I hope that we can continue to do that. And I've been encouraged today to do more of that, I have to say. And so I thank you for that. But go ahead and share your feedback. Share what we can do differently, do better. Like I said, topic speakers, activities, and other things. Collaborations. We are open to hearing it all. So share that, and maybe later if you all think it's a good idea to maybe create like a survey, like a Google survey or something, and I can tweet that out and y'all can put your suggestions in there. Maybe it's one thought. If that is a good idea, DM me and let me know. Otherwise, if you're like, yeah, just let people DM you, that's also, I'm cool with that too. But we don't know everything, so we are only as brilliant as our collective. And you all are extremely brilliant, regardless of your backgrounds, right? So sister, regardless of if you're in academia or you are not, or you're in politics, you're in education, you are in I don't know, basket weaving, you're in bus driving, you are in security, you're in police, you're whatever your deal is, firefighting, okay, construction, okay, whatever, pilots, whatever, or you're staying at home and building beautiful families and neighborhoods and communities, honey, you're more than qualified. So we love your feedback. We thank you for it. Maybe there's a book club in, whatever your ideas are, we take it all. So with that, Sister Lana, do you have anything you wanted to respond to or add as we close out?
I just want to say thank you for letting me join you, Dr. Ijeoma, and the invitation. I appreciate being able to co-host with you. I really do. When Dr. Ijeoma asked me to co-host with her, I had not long made a thing that I was not going to do anything on the weekends because I was exhausted and I needed to get myself in hand. And she said, sis, you want to co-host this thing with me? And my spirit jumped forward and said, yes. And I am glad that I have. I am so glad that I have, because there's different ways to take rest. And, you know, you've seen me, I had to be flexible and to take that from time to time because I've had like too many things to do. But I am so glad to have been invited and to have taken up this honor and to have met so many of you. So for y'all though who don't know me, like people think I'm an extrovert, but I'm not. I actually prefer to be somewhere in the woods, like in a tent or something like that, by a body of water with no communications. But it has been a joy to be out here in these Twitter streets. Even though y'all know how I feel about these network platforms that betray us in so many ways, they're somewhat necessary, right? Like it's 6 of this and we have to make the next 6 better. So I want to say thank you for letting me be in your company, let me be on your waves, in your homes, in your cars, wherever you should take our voices with you. I appreciate that. I appreciate being in conversation with you. Because for me, I think about it, in order to get over my little hump is like, it's just a Black people hang. Right. I've always, pre-pandemic, always had a space or home where people can come pass through and chill, get something to eat and whatever. And so this just felt like a virtual version of that. So again, I want to say thank you, and that we should continue to meditate as we move into 2023 on, how do we embody our love of this land and the sky that has been ours since we've been placed here with breath? How do we understand that we are the government, that we don't need to vote for the government, but we need to be the government, and therefore what we vote for will manifest. And how do we tell people, no, you can't just steal, thousands of images of Black women that have been made from time immemorial and put them in your machine and profit and book a virtual model, and you can't do that. There's actually a whole fashion show with Black elders that are all AI. Right? Circulating. So no, you can't misuse our living or our past. And just first to continue to meditate on, like, how do we do these things together with joy? How do we keep our songs, and how do we keep our food in circulation, and how do we just keep joyful? Because it ain't always easy, but as Sister Anne reminded us, we take our peace with us wherever we go, and we bring comfort where we go. And so how do we continue to knit that together? And I just want to say thank you to everybody that shared what they're doing. And I look forward to seeing you next year and reporting back about some of the things that we've all been doing and will be doing. And may you go in peace, and may you go in love, and may you have the prayers of your ancestors, no matter what your religion or creed. Even if you have no religion at all, that's still a religion, right? Because you're holding a tradition that is true to you and embodies what you believe in. So thank you for everything that you've shared today and all the times that you've been here, and whether you've said something or haven't. So I'm going to leave it there. And that is my future dreaming, that we should convene again, and that we should convene to continue to build a world that is not exploitative, that is love personified. Ashe.
Ashe. Ijeoma, can I say something to Lana, please?
Do I have a choice?
No, you don't.
Okay.
But no, I just want to say, Lana, I know you've gone through so much this year. And I just want to say thank you for always showing up despite all the difficulty, all the heartbreak that you've gone through. I appreciate your voice. And, I know Ijeoma is probably going to say it better, but just know that I love you and I love everything you're doing for us and for definitely for us. And so thank you so much for showing up when you didn't have to. And Happy New Year, and looking forward to next year. That's all I wanted to say. You see, Ijeoma, I'm short.
Thank you, Sister Pascal. I so appreciate that. And same to you, right? Keep that courage and that fire. But and to Ijeoma's point, DM Ijeoma, because I barely be looking at this thing after I come off y'all on, because we usually had a young person dealing with our Twitter and they're not available at this point. So definitely DM Sister Ijeoma with all your ideas. I will get them. They just not being able to respond to very quickly. That's all. Okay, let's be honest. Let's keep it real.
Yeah, that's why I said what I said. I said, yeah, I don't want the people to be like, well, I didn't hear from Sister Lana. I'm like, nah, she loves you, but the way things are set up, what you want, baby? You tell me, I'll get it to her. Sister Pascal, actually, you're wrong for the first time in a long time. You actually said it better than I ever could have said it. That was beautiful because yes, and Lana knows how I feel about her, and I mean, there are no words. I will have to start speaking Igbo, and nobody will understand what I'm saying, just to truly, because again, English is a shit language, right? And so just truly to embody and convey how I feel about you, and how you have really changed my life for the better since knowing you like by accident, all the way in Toronto and me all the way in Detroit. And how and for those who don't know, we were co-panelists on a decolonizing global health panel that was hosted at Queen's University, in Canada. And we just like, it was just, we had the panelists we met prior to the event, and to just make sure we got our whole talking point straight, and everybody was amazing. It was all these Black women, right? So Dr. Pascal, like your experience in the conference, so it was all these Black women from all over the diaspora. I mean, it was just so beautiful. I just didn't want to say anything. I just wanted to just be in the presence. And but this beautiful, like, goddess like creature was just like, oh, okay, Ijoma. I just like, it was crazy the way we just started like, and we just like that. It's like you meet your long lost twin sister, and y'all just start vibing like that. Like even before there was there was the vibe. And so that, it was Lana and myself. And since then, and I've met a variety of people in my life, and sometimes it's a click, sometimes it's not, or sometimes it's just somewhere in between and you click, but it's just what it is. But to actually meet your other half, someone who I can call at 1 a.m. and just be like, Angela, hey, what's going on, what's up? There is no question, there is no like, giving me the third degree or whatever that is called, when you ask people 50 million questions, or just like, how can we make it happen, right? When she can't do something, she's out calling like 65 people to see if they can do it in her place. She never just like, well, I can't do it. I'm with great reasons. Like, she's like, yeah, so I just had an amputation of my left leg. I'm in the hospital, right? And Lana will still be like, but I'm going to try and call 12 people to see who can do this thing. And you're like, Lana, you in the hospital and you ain't got no leg. Can you please focus on your amputation and don't worry about, whatever it is you committed to do? But that's like the degree of her commitment, whereby she will always show up, and she will show up in person, in spirit, or she will get someone to show up in her place, or whatever. It doesn't matter. Like you said, Dr. Pascal, she had people pass away, multiple people back to back, in her family, and still, until such a time where it's like, Lana, no, you can't come. Like, please, you got to stay and take care of your heart and your spirit and your family and all that. And so I mean, you don't find people like this in this lifetime, in a lifetime, that frequently. It's just a couple of people, if ever. And so I'm very privileged in my lifetime to have found someone like you, Lana. And so I want to say thank you for who you are, and genuinely, not just like online, but just like in real life. And God willing, we're gonna actually see each other in person in a week or so. And so after working together for a couple of years. So that's going to be really very something special. So thank you. And thank you, Dr. Pascal, for naming that. You really did a beautiful job of that. The way Sister Lana ended is, I think, the best way. She said, we need to dream and work towards a world that is love personified. I think that is the summary of it all. That is love personified, and we forget that. But I think, as we talk about comfort and safety and prayer and faith and hope and courage and standing up and fighting and dismantling and eliminating and transforming and creating and liberating, and all the verbs that we utilize, that at the heart and the core of it is love. Is love. Is love. Is love. is love for self, love for others, love for deity, love for ancestry, love for culture, love for humanity, love for the earth, for the planet, for the universe and galaxy in which she lives, love for love, for spirit. How do I, as I go forward in 2023, how do I build a world starting with my own home, and then at work, at school, at volunteer or vocation, at leisure, at worship, at the town hall, at city hall, at the governor's mansion, at the White House, wherever I am, at the gym. What is the one thing I can do to cultivate the world that is love personified? So I want us to really like sit with that, and I love to hear your thoughts. And feel free to send me that. But we've talked today about relationship and connection, right? To the earth, to each other as community, to ancestry, to family, to deity, the land. We've talked about the fact that our work of liberation, justice, and anti-oppression must be tied into the work of ensuring that Allah, the earth, that she's also well taken care of and free of the toxins and toxicities and pollution that is the result of greed run rampant, right? Greed backed by incredible power that is rooted in white patriarchal supremacism. We've talked about how our comfort and safety is portable, that we make it, we create it, we hold it, and we take it with us, that we don't depend on the externals for it. And in that, we are very powerful because we define these things for ourselves, not wait to be defined by others or other entities. We talked about the power of faith for hopefulness and the courage, and how we validate each other, and in so doing, again, build that power for the long fight that is ahead of us. We talked about the fact that it's important that we remind ourselves of who we are, whose we are, where we come from, in order to garner the strength that reassures us that we already win. So we stand with courage and confidence as we do the work that we do, that we stand with courage and confidence to persevere on the path that we choose, a path of purpose and passion and power, so that we can build a world that personifies love. So again, thank you for everything. You all have been an amazing community. Share this video, share the recording, share the video on the YouTube channel, share it widely. Follow up, engage, interact, have conversations where you are. Thank you for taking what you've learned out of this small space and then amplifying it, because you apply it and you have these conversations in your various spaces. And as you freedom dream for yourselves and your work, don't forget to freedom dream for the round table, for this community. And remember to include us in your prayers if you pray, and whatever your spiritual practice is. But we love you, and we want you to love yourselves, love each other, build community, and build power as you build a world that is love personified. And so we will close out with techno, finishing up that powerful song, and it's from Beyonce's Black is King. What better compilation to end on? And so don't you jealous me, because what sheep doesn't run with lion, and snake, they swing with monkey. And so this will hopefully remind you to remind yourselves of who you are, and therefore who you should not be hanging around with, because they are way beneath your level.